Hello, you, and welcome back to Whispers After 50. I'm Barbara, and today I'm going to share a very personal chapter of my life. A true story about a secret fear that often lurks in the hearts of many older adults yet rarely gets spoken aloud. It's the profound, sometimes suffocating fear of becoming a burden. For 78 years, my identity was synonymous with self-reliance. I managed my own affairs, cared for my family, and prided myself on being a giver, not a taker. But as my body began to gently remind me of its age, a persistent ache here, a little less balance there, I faced the painful reality of needing help. And with that realization came the overwhelming dread. What if I become a burden to my loving children? Have you ever felt that silent struggle, that conflict between needing support and fearing the impact your needs might have on the lives of those you cherish most? That profound sense of wanting to remain independent, even as your capabilities subtly shift. This isn't just my true story of physical decline. It's an honest look at the emotional toll of feeling like your independence is slipping away and the fear of losing your dignity. I'm going to be completely open about the moments of quiet desperation, the difficult conversations, and the surprising, sometimes humbling steps I took to find peace, redefine dependence, not as a burden, but as a new form of connection, and ultimately find peace within myself. My hope is that my journey can offer you some insight and perhaps a little comfort if you're walking a similar path. Let's talk about the weight of love and finding peace in interdependence. For my entire adult life, I was the one who took charge. I was the rock of our family, the one who organized holidays, solved problems, and always offered a helping hand. I managed my own finances, drove my own car, and kept my home meticulously. My children, bless them, grew up seeing me as strong, capable, and fiercely independent. And I loved that image. It was a core part of who I was. But about 2 years ago, subtle changes began. A bad fall left me with a fractured wrist, making simple tasks like cooking and dressing incredibly difficult. Then arthritis in my knees worsened, making stairs a daunting challenge. My vision, though corrected, wasn't as sharp for driving at night. Each little physical limitation felt like a tiny chip away at my fortress of independence. My children, particularly my daughter Sarah, immediately offered help. "Mom, let me bring you groceries. Dad and I can come over to fix that." Each offer, while heartfelt, felt like a concession, a small defeat. I'd politely decline or insist I could manage even when I knew I couldn't. The thought of them having to sacrifice their time, their energy, their own busy lives to care for me, it was agonizing. I saw their full schedules, their own children, their jobs, and my heart ached with the idea that I might add to their load. The fear wasn't just about practical help. It was deeply emotional. I worried about losing their respect, about being seen as old or helpless. I imagined their silent sighs, the resentment building up if I became too demanding. I started to hide things, a missed step, a dropped item, a forgotten appointment. It was easier to pretend I was fine than to admit I needed help. The quiet of my home, once my sanctuary of independence, sometimes felt like a lonely battlefield where I was constantly trying to prove I still had it all together. My biggest red flag wasn't my physical decline, but my own internal monologue of shame and fear. I convinced myself that needing help made me less valuable, less of a mother, less of a person. I believed that true love meant not burdening those you loved. I started self-isolating, subtly avoiding situations where my limitations might be obvious. I'd cancel plans saying I was tired, rather than admit I couldn't manage the stairs or the long walk. This internal dialogue, this self-imposed loneliness was far more painful than any physical ache. I remember one particularly low point. Sarah called, asking about my grocery run. I lied, saying I'd gone, even though my cupboard was nearly empty. She sensed something was off and gently insisted on coming over. When she saw the bare shelves and my exhausted face, her eyes filled with concern, not anger, or resentment. She didn't scold me. She just hugged me tightly. In that moment, I felt a wave of profound shame and despair. I had lied to my own daughter not out of malice, but out of a deep-seated fear of being a burden, of becoming one of those unfortunate souls who drain their children. It was a chilling realization, almost a silent lament. My fear of being a burden was actually pushing away the very love and connection I needed most. The conversation that followed was one of the hardest of my life. I finally admitted my fears, my struggles, my guilt. Sarah listened patiently, her eyes never leaving mine. She told me, "Mom, you're not a burden. You're our mother. Loving you means being here for you, just as you've always been there for us." Her words were a lifeline, but the invisible weight of my own fears had been so heavy for so long, it wasn't easy to simply let go. That moment, the raw, honest conversation with Sarah, was my true turning point. Her words, "You're not a burden," echoed in my mind. I realized I couldn't let my pride or my fear continue to build a wall between me and my family's love. It wasn't about losing independence entirely. It was about redefining what independence looked like in this new chapter of life, and about embracing a new concept, interdependence. This led to my first incredibly vital lesson. True love doesn't see help as a burden. It sees it as a privilege, and accepting help is an act of trust, not weakness. I started small. I allowed Sarah to come once a week to help with groceries and heavier chores. It felt awkward at first having her see my imperfections, but her cheerful presence and genuine willingness slowly eased my discomfort. I learned that letting others help actually strengthened our bond, creating new moments of shared experience and connection. My initial fear of being a burden gradually gave way to a tiny spark of gratitude and warmth with each act of kindness. My second lesson was about communicating my needs openly and honestly, even when it felt vulnerable. Instead of hiding my struggles, I started speaking up. "Sarah, my knees are really bothering me today. Could you help me get that box from the top shelf?" Or, "I'm a bit overwhelmed with these new medical bills. Could you sit with me when I call the insurance company?" This wasn't easy for someone who always prided herself on being self-sufficient, but I found that expressing my needs created clarity, reduced misunderstanding, and allowed my children to genuinely support me without guesswork. Third, I learned the importance of actively contributing in new ways to maintain my sense of value and purpose. Just because I couldn't lift heavy things or drive at night didn't mean I was useless. I started taking on tasks I could do easily. Organizing old family photos, sharing family stories, knitting blankets for the grandchildren, proofreading Sarah's work emails. My old secretarial skills came in handy. My home, once a source of anxiety, became a haven for new activities. This wasn't just about productivity. It was about nurturing my own sense of worth, knowing I still had valuable contributions to make to my story family. And finally, the most profound lesson: interdependence is not a weakness. It's a beautiful, natural part of the human journey, especially as we age. For so long, I believed true strength meant never needing anyone. But I discovered that relying on my children and allowing them to show their love through support was actually a deeper form of strength. It was a two-way street. I offered my wisdom, my love, my presence, and they offered their strength and practical help. I learned to forgive myself for my pride and fear, to accept that aging brings new challenges, and that true fulfillment comes from continuously embracing this evolving dance of giving and receiving within my story family. My journey, my story of my life as a mother, was shifting, not ending. My journey from fearing being a burden to embracing interdependence has been truly transformative. There are still days when I feel a pang of frustration with my physical limitations, of course, but now that feeling doesn't define me. It feels like a reminder to lean on my loved ones. I've found a rhythm, a balance, and a renewed sense of purpose and connection that enriches my life immensely. I've realized that this chapter, while unexpected, is a powerful testament to the endless capacity of the human spirit to adapt to love and to find joy even in the midst of profound change. So, if you're battling that quiet fear of becoming a burden, struggling with losing your independence, or worrying about the impact you might have on your loved ones, know this: you are not alone. My true story taught me that while these fears are incredibly painful, they don't have to define your reality. You possess an incredible capacity for resilience, for learning, and for redefining relationships as you age. Remember, accepting help is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of love and trust, allowing your family to show their affection. Your value isn't measured by your physical capabilities, but by your wisdom, your love, and your continued presence. Embrace the beauty of interdependence. Have you experienced the fear of being a burden? What steps did you take to find peace and support in your own life? Or what advice would you give to someone just beginning to navigate this challenging but ultimately rewarding chapter? Please share your stories and your wisdom in the comments below. Your insights could truly light the way for someone else and inspire them to embrace this new form of connection. If this true story resonated with you, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to Whispers After 50 for more authentic conversations about our life's beautiful journey. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you for watching, and always remember, every whisper of experience holds invaluable wisdom.